What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my quick pick video for UFC 292. But before we get into 292, make sure you like the video. I even not like the video yet. Subscribe if you are new. Make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com. Consider become a premium member today. It's only $10 a month. At this point, I don't know what you're waiting for. Last week, I picked a perfect card, basically. My only miss was Hakeem. Up units again. I think that's what, 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Lock of the week, won 3 of the last 4. We are completely dominating. I am, as a channel, collectively. Angelo as well, safety parlay. We've got everything you could ever want. WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10 a month. Let's get right into the action. Quick pick video for UFC 292. Let's get after it. First up, we got Kurt versus Austin. I'll be quite honest with you guys. I don't really care about this fight. This is one of those fights. I know it's like the Ultimate Fighter, this and that. I don't really care. I don't watch the Ultimate Fighter. These guys have been in the UFC before. They haven't been in the UFC before. It is what it is. I'm going to pick Austin because I think he's got the toughness, the wrestling, the durability. But this dude, Kurt, can wrestle. He does hit hard. He throws heavy in the pocket. Austin can get hit, so my pick is Austin here. I'm not putting money on it. I don't really care about it. I'll be watching it with one eye open, taking a little nappy. Let's move on to the next one. Next up, we got Moroz versus Karine Silva, and now we are into the juice of the card, and this one should be very interesting. Get us started. Let me just say off the rip, both these girls to me are kind of the same in the striking. I call them kind of empty strikers. When they strike, it's a lot of and it looks good and it looks technical, but it's a lot of missing. A lot of those strikes on both sides from both girls come up short. So in the striking, I think it's about 50-50. Karine's probably got the more power, but I don't think that she's going to land the power, and this is going to turn into a wrestling, grappling match. And there's 2 things that I've seen in both these girls grappling. Number one, Karine, way too comfortable off her back. You saw that in her Contender Series fight. She was getting the absolute shit beat out of her in that Contender Series fight. What was she doing? Not trying to get back to her feet. Not even trying to chase something like a triangle or an arm bar, which at least is something a little bit more with some concrete value. She's doing like omoplatas, go-go platas, just constantly back and forth while she's getting her brains beat in. In the second round, you could see that she was about to give up in that fight. There was like one last little flurry. She was back against the fence like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to lose this, lose my dream of the UFC. And then she found that Hail Mary guillotine. I don't see that working out against a girl like Moroz. You saw Moroz against Mayra Bueno Silva, who looks like an absolute killer at this point. Got in the half guard and was just controlling the top position versus Bueno Silva, who is also very, very dangerous in sweeps and off her back. So I actually love Moroz in this. I think the striking is 50-50. I think Moroz is going to end up on top, and she can stay safe in the full guard of Karine, but she is going to transition, and if she gets in half guard, she can definitely control these positions. She's an absolute dog. I don't think she's going to gas. She can wear down Karine and maybe find a finish in the second or third round. So we're started off with a bang. Big upset here. I am picking Maryna Moroz to upset Karine Silva, get it on the ground, control those top positions, wear her down, and just beat her absolute brains in. So I actually got bets on Maryna as well. It's going to be one of my highest plays of the week, probably. Become a premium member to see what that is. WeWantPicks.com, only $10 a month. Let's move on to the next one. Andrea versus Natalia Silva, and this should be pretty cut and dry, and the odds reflect that. This to me, and by the way, Natalia Silva is my girl. Don't DM her. Don't even look at her unless you get my permission first, because I was all over Natalia Silva before her UFC reemergence against Jasmine, because I went to the Instagram, I did the deep dive, and I'm like, oh my God, this girl looks fast. Her footwork looks good. I think she is going to absolutely smoke Jasmine, and that's exactly what she did. And Andrea is basically a Jasmine. Doesn't even have the wrestling of Jasmine. A little bit better striker, but this should be a pretty cut and dry fight for Natalia. And what I love about Natalia too is even if she gets taken down, the second her butt hits the octagon, the second something hits the floor, she is immediately trying to scramble back to get to her feet. The sense of urgency that she has is incredible, and I love that. Andrea is going to be chasing the entire time. She's going to look desperate with takedowns, and her striking is not up to par against a girl like Natalia. She's not going to be fast enough. Her combinations aren't extended enough. It's a lot of just one 1-2, powerful shots. Natalia's footwork is so clean, so fast with her hands, so powerful with her strikes, and has urgency when she gets to the ground. And if she wants to get takedowns, Andrea Lee can get taken down as well. So even if she gets in trouble for whatever reason, which I don't think she will, she can get a takedown of her own if she wants it, if she needs it to control, take her time, get back to her feet, and kind of reset the fight. So I'm all over Natalia here. I understand the odds, and I understand if you guys want to part on parlays as a parlay piece, I get that as well. I'll find some action for sure. Maybe some action with them. I don't know. DM me on Natalia. Hey, obrigado, como vai? Pode repetir, por favor. I got the Portuguese going. Let's move on to the next one. Gerald Meerschaert versus Andrea Petroski. And this is one of those fights, if you're Andre, you call for. Be careful what you wish for. I know you want to fight Joe Pyfer. This is probably a better step than going straight to, Bo Nickel. This is probably a better step than going straight to Bo Nickel. And if you're Andre, I understand you got the wrestling. You can probably out-wrestle this guy. You can probably out-grapple this guy. But I've seen you, Andre, on top of people and still getting tired, still getting out-grappled. And you do not want to start losing scrambles to Gerald. So what I would say for you, Andre, walk this guy down. Gerald's going to do his thing where he kind of looks like Lurch, moving around the octagon against the fence. Just throw right hands. Boom. Not overhand riders, not hooks. Right hands down the pipe. That's all it takes to chin this dude. Just right hands down the pipe, boop, on the button. You can knock this dude down. You can knock this dude out. You can really hurt him with your hands. Get a big finish. Get on the mic. Call out Bo Nickel. Whatever you want to do. But if you want to start wrestling with this guy and you want to prove that you're a better grappler, you can tire. And when you get tired, that is how Gerald Meerschaert wins fights. People get tired. He starts winning scrambles. He gets on your back and he submits you. Andre, I wouldn't mess around with it. Throw that right hand. Time it nice. Don't get too crazy with it. And just knock this guy out. Andre is the play. I wish I was a little, I should be all over him, and I am confident in him. It's just if he starts wrestling, grappling early, trying to go all in, and he gets gassed, Gerald is more than capable to start winning sweeps, winning scrambles. So Andre is the play. He should be capable. Just throw that right hand down the pipe. Should be easy. Let's move on. Gregory Rodrigues versus Denis Tiuliulin. And Denis Tiuliulin, to me, he's got a special place in my heart, man. If you guys did not know, my lock of the week last year, about this time, won 10 weeks in a row, 10 fights in a row. Denis Tiuliulin was number 10 versus Jamie Pickett. But why I picked him against Jamie Pickett is because he can hit like a truck. He is super tough, super durable. I know against Iron Turtle he got submitted, but he was fully mounted for like 3 or 4 straight minutes, just eating shots, does not give up on himself. And against a guy like Gregory Rodrigues, who just got absolutely flatlined, is a great wrestler, great grappler, high-level grappler, but he doesn't like grappling. He likes striking. He wants to try to knock people out. That's what he has said. That's what he tries to do. He is going to come in, and if he does not wrestle, he is going to get put out by this dude, Denis. I'm telling you right now that this dude, Denis, is an absolute dog. He hits like a truck. His last 3 losses were against Turtle, who we realize is much better than we give him credit for, and 2 Russians, one of them being Ikram, basically undefeated Russians that he just kind of got mauled. Gregory should come in. He should wrestle. He should grapple. I don't think he is. I think he's going to get in the pocket. He's going to try to throw at this guy. Can Gregory knock out Denis? He probably can. But can't Denis knock out Gregory? Absolutely. And that's what I see happening here. Gregory gets a little bit too happy, a little bit too comfortable. Denis is a guy that when he's backed in a corner is very, very dangerous. He gets in the pocket. He throws heavy. He throws hard. Gregory was flatlined his last fight. He's been chinned before. I'm going with a huge underdog here. I don't have a money line on him, but I will find something on him for Denis. The big underdog here, Denis Tiuliulin, to upset Gregory Rodrigues once again. But if he gets taken down, submitted, it is what it is. That's what should happen. I think Gregory's going to strike, and he is going to pay with his life against Denis. Let's move on. Chris Weidman versus Brad Tavares, and this one should be pretty cut and dry as well. I understand people are going to be rooting for Chris Weidman. I get it, and I wish I knew who said this, but I saw it on Twitter, is that this sport is very unforgiving to its veterans. Very few, unless you're Robbie Lawler, get fairy tale storybook endings. And unfortunately for Chris Weidman, coming off that major leg surgery, had to relearn how to walk already before that. It's not like he was like an overly dominant guy. He was already kind of fading, right? He was getting knocked out. He was losing fights. His hands have, at this point in his career, are not great. Good news for him is Brad Tavares is not like a super dangerous guy. He does have power, and he should have enough power against a guy like Chris Weidman. But the bad news for Chris Weidman is Brad Tavares typically is very durable, has very good takedown defense, and will be there for all 3 rounds. Even in Chris Weidman's last fight before he broke his leg, where he was controlling wrestling and positions, he was still getting tired. He was tired in that second round. That was when he was feeling great, feeling his best. He was feeling ready. That's already a red flag to me. So I could see Chris Weidman coming in, getting an early takedown, looking great, and then gassing, and then getting KO'd or TKO'd. But I will say this. Brad Tavares is the play. I have a heavy money line bet on Brad Tavares because he should be able to withstand the early stuff and then kind of find the shots against a guy like Chris Weidman, who won't have the timing and the striking. Already wasn't a great striker as it is. But I'm going to hedge it a little bit with Weidman by submission because he is sneaky with front chokes, darces, all that type of stuff. And if Brad gets in a situation where he's feeling a little bit weird and he tries to shoot a takedown or lose a scramble, there is a situation where Weidman comes out, fairy tale ending, finds a submission. So I am going to hedge my Brad Tavares in a way, just because I don't really trust Brad Tavares all that well for like minus 250 money, whatever it is. But Brad Tavares is a play. I do have money on him. Let's move on to the next one. Cheeto versus Pedro. And both these guys, let me just say this right now. Both these guys are tough as shit. I mean, absolutely tough as shit. Cheeto is a guy that we have said, Angelo's been more than me, but I've said as well, don't think he's as good as people think he is. He is a guy that gets behind on the scorecards, relies on his power way too much, even off his back. He relies on his guard game too much instead of scrambling back to his feet. And in this fight, I have said that I was going to ride Cheeto until the wheels fell off. And that's exactly what I did. Going into that Corey Sandhagen fight, I put I sat in here in front of this camera right here in this chair watching that fight, and I put $700 on Cheeto Vera to get that done against Corey Sandhagen and lost my shit because that guy looked like he didn't give a fuck in that fight. His corner's pleading with him like, please, Cheeto, you got to do something. We got to do something. We got to do something. And I see the same thing happening here. Pedro is a guy that typically is a forward pressure guy. Even against Sean, he was landing leg kicks. He didn't throw a lot of hands, but he was getting ahead on the scorecards versus Sugar. He is a guy that typically is walking forward, marching forward. It can take a shot. And when this is not 5 rounds, this is only 3 rounds. Cheeto is going to get behind in the first round. He's going to probably get behind the second round. And then he is not going to have the power to, the power equalizer against a guy like Pedro to win this fight. So I actually really like Pedro. I believe that this is going to be a super close fight. I'll be honest. I was thinking about making Pedro my lock of the week. But I understand that Cheeto is very tough. He does have the power. And Pedro also can kind of touch. So I think this is going to be a very, very close fight. Maybe a split decision fight. But in a close fight, in a decision fight between these two gentlemen, I trust Pedro more to be the one that's walking down, controlling the octagon, won't get affected by the power. If there is grappling, Pedro is a better grappler than Cheeto. Pedro's a very underrated high-level grappler. He's at ATT. They usually have pretty good game plans. You saw against Sugar, they had a great game plan coming in. Not even going to throw hands. I don't want to get countered. I'm just going to leg kick. The same thing could happen here. Pedro's going to get ahead of the scorecards. He is going to win the decision. I'm pretty heavy on him this week. WeWantPicks.com to see what that action is. I'm going with Pedro to upset Cheeto here. Cheeto's movement's getting a little bit wide too. We might even get better value on Pedro. Should be a close fight, probably a decision fight, but I like Pedro to squeak out a decision win. Let's move on. Neil Magny versus Ian Garry, and this is I've been an Ian Garry fan since day one. This kid is really good, guys. I've been trying to tell people, I understand the antics, and you might not like him. You think he's a douchebag and this and that. He's a cocky kid. He works hard, and he is very, very good. He asked for this fight. He wanted to fight Neil Magny, and I don't believe that this is going to be a be careful what you wish for situations. Neil Magny isn't a dangerous guy. He's a durable guy, not a super dangerous guy. The only way Neil Magny wins fights is if you fight Neil Magny the way that Neil Magny wants to fight you. He wants to get dirty. He wants to be in the clinch. He will just back up against the fence just so you engage in the clinch with him. Ian Garry, don't do it, man. Keep your distance. Keep your space. I tried to tell Phil Rowe. Listen, when Neil Magny backs against the fence, don't go in. Don't grab him. Just sit on the outside and pop him. Boom, boom. And you saw the success that Phil Rowe was having when he did that. But then it was like pop, pop. Nice right hand. Boom. Into the clinch. Ian Garry, don't do it, baby. Don't do it, sweetie. Stay at distance. He's going to be against the fence. Just pop him. Boom, boom. Treat him like a heavy bag. Throw those kicks, the head kicks. Ian Garry's a smart kid. He shouldn't run into any issues against Neil Magny. He's a big favorite for a reason. Get in there. Stay away from him. Keep your distance. Keep your space. Footwork. Touch him, touch him, touch him. Land that power shot. Hurt him. Go in for the kill. I love Ian Garry. It should be easy. But if he starts clinching early, it's going to be like, holy shit. I cannot believe that Neil Magny is getting another fighter to fight the fight that he wants to fight. But Ian Garry should be smart enough. He wanted this fight for a reason, right? Neil is kind of a name on the way up. Ian Garry should be able to win the fight and should be able to get the finish, honestly. But I'm going Ian Garry. Let's move on. Weili versus Amanda Lemos. And this is one I've been back and forth on this, man. I have been back and forth. And originally I picked Lemos. I'll be honest with you guys. I picked Lemos, but then I realized that it's asking for a little bit of a Hail Mary situation. There's two things that are absolutely true about Weili. Number one, tough as shit. She is very, very tough. Number two, the reason why you know that she's tough is because she does get hit. She does get hit. And there were some shots in that Joanna fight. And I know Joanna is a lot faster than Lemos. Doesn't have the power, but is faster than Lemos. But there were some shots, specifically some right hands, that Joanna was landing where I'm like, oh, you know, if Amanda's landing this right hand, Weili could be in some big, big trouble because Weili has not fought somebody with the hand power and danger that Lemos presents. Even in the grappling, this is the most dangerous fighter that Weili has fought. And Weili should be technical enough to withstand it. She's a technical fighter, technical in the striking, technical in the grappling, in the wrestling. She should be able to slow the fight down. If she wants to shoot a takedown early, wrestle Amanda early, kind of wear her down and take some of the pop out of Amanda's shots, that is a strategy. But even in the wrestling, even in the grappling, she's got to be careful because Lemos is a girl that will snatch up a guillotine. You saw that versus the karate hottie, Michelle Watterson. She is a girl that will work and scramble. She is not going to quit inside the octagon. So, while I think Lemos is the more dangerous fighter, I'm going to kind of go back on my word a little bit. I originally picked Lemos, but it feels like just hoping that she lands a right hand to hurt Weili or hoping that she finds something in a front choke. That's just not the way that you should pick fights. Weili is the better fighter. She should be able to withstand the power early. She's shown that she's tough before, even though she got chinned. I mean, that was like a head kick straight to the fucking head. So, while I'm going to pick Weili, I'm not putting her in parlays. I'm not putting her in money lines. It might be like maybe like a minus like 5.5 or something like that. Because 5 rounds, she should be able to take over, maybe find a late finish. But I fully respect and understand the power and danger that Lemos brings in. And I hope you guys understand that Lemos is better than people are giving credit for. And she is much more dangerous everywhere than people are giving credit for. Weili does get hit. She does get hit. And Lemos, when she hit girls, she fucking hurts them bad. So be careful with the Weili stuff this week. I get it. She should be the better fighter. But Lemos, even though she hasn't fought the level of competition, is still a very, very dangerous girl. Be careful. I think the value here is probably on the Lemos side rather than the Weili side. But Weili is going to be my official pick so far this week. We might change our mind. Stay tuned. Main event time for UFC 292. And let me start off by saying, because a lot of people are not going to like this breakdown, I'll tell you that. Let me start off by saying that I'm not an Aljo hater. I am one of the very few people that was all over Aljo going into that first Petr Yan fight. Not only was I all over him going into that first Petr Yan fight, but I doubled down and I said, listen, when everyone was abandoning Aljo and everyone was talking about, oh, Petr Yan's just going to smoke him in the rematch, fake champion, he faked the knee, this and that, I said, no. If you guys watch that fight, he was getting into positions that he couldn't finish, but he was still getting to those positions in the first fight. If he gets to those same positions in that second fight, he is going to get the takedowns and he is going to backpack this guy and he is going to dominate this fight. And that's exactly what he did. I was one of the few people. So don't think I'm an Aljo hater. I picked him both times in the Petr Yan fight. The issue with Aljo is his entries. When he is walking down people like Petr Yan, or is he is walking down people with one arm like TJ Dillashaw, or is he walking down people like Henry Cejudo, the little hobbit wrestler, that is going to be much different than a rangy, dynamic, dangerous striker in Sean O'Malley. And you already heard on the UFC countdowns, Tim Welsh, which I think Tim Welsh is the most important key here for Sugar. Tim Welsh is a very high IQ level individual as far as a coach. Sean trusts this guy. They are very good friends, but Welsh is not a yes man. He is a guy that will get in Sugar's face. He will be a coach when it's time to be a coach. And he is already picking up on stuff. And I promise you, his game plan is going to be pristine for what they have for Aljo. And if you watch the countdown, he is already in Sugar's ear. Listen, you're going to have the shot. When he is making his entries, when he is making his takedown attempts, you will have the shot. You will find his chin. You are the accurate one. And I fully believe that because Aljo is not like this super, like Marab. Aljo is not Marab where it's like these wild blast doubles and these just running the pipe and running people over and super athletic. Aljo closes with his strikes. And if you watch him close the distance with his strikes, his hands are not here. His hands are low. He will get in. And against a guy like Petr Yan, who is shelling up, that works. Against a wrestler who is ready for the takedowns and wants to wrestle against Cejudo, that works. Against a guy who only has one arm, TJ Dillashaw, that works. But if you are closing with pressure, hands down, and even when he is throwing strikes, his hands do not come back where they're supposed to be. Aljo has been knocked out before. He has been chinned before. Sean O'Malley is so good with his footwork and so good with those step-offs and those counters. I'm telling you right now, I understand, and I'm not an idiot here, right? If Aljo gets a takedown and backpacks him, I get it. He can, if he gets in those positions, he can definitely win this fight. There's a reason why he's considered the bantamweight GOAT, and he should be, and he's the minus 250, minus 300 favorite, whatever it is. But it's going to be the footwork of Sean. It's going to be the range of Sean. It's going to be the slow, methodical entries of Aljo. And one of the most important parts about this fight is going to be the kicks of Sean O'Malley. Aljo loves catching kicks. I mean, he absolutely loves catching kicks to try to get people to the ground. It's an easy way to do it. Instead of shooting takedowns, blast doubles, you catch the kick, you trip them, you follow it up, you go to the ground. I have no doubt in my mind that Sean O'Malley is going to be blasting kicks. Aljo is trying to catch kicks, and a head kick is going to come. You saw against Henry Cejudo, he threw a head kick that Aljo ate. Didn't even block. I mean, his hands were low. We've seen it time and time again. These 5-round championship fight main events of people getting head kicked. Watch out for the body kicks leading to the head kicks of Sean O'Malley as well. And Sean, even if he goes to the ground, people don't give Sean the credit that he deserves for as hard as he works. He comes across and he has convinced the world that he is just this lazy guy that smokes weed. He shows up, everything is given to him, and he doesn't have to work hard. This guy works his ass off. He's a better grappler than people give him credit for. And with that, I mean that he can stay alive. Doesn't mean he won't get submitted, but if he gets on the ground, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to stay safe. So, I don't think he's worried too much about the takedowns because he knows how to stay safe, but it's going to be the lackadaisical entries of Aljo. He is normally fighting people that are short, hobbity, one-armed, high guard, wrestlers. This is a long, rangy striker on a short turnaround layoff, coming off, he was fighting a wrestling hobbit 3 months ago to this long, rangy, dynamic striker who can put people away. It is going to be Aljo thinking that he can pressure this guy. Sean with the step-offs, with the circling, with the footwork. He is going to hurt Aljo early. Aljo is going to get desperate. He might get a takedown the first round. He is going to gas, and he is going to get finished in the second round of this fight. It is going to be Sugar and New. The footwork, the precision, the striking, the dynamics. It is going to be a knockout finish for Sugar Sean O'Malley against Aljamain Sterling. He is going to go to 145, leave the division, leave the belt with the king, Sugar Sean O'Malley. This has been my quick pick video for UFC 292. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. Become a premium member. Leave a comment if you guys agree with anything. If you guys disagree, your full card picks, whatever it is. My name is Jacob, a.k.a. the Freckled Salamander, and I am out. Peace.